Hi, it's me on the other side of the camera. That's unusual, and the next thing I do is also going to be kind of uncommon for me. It's a book review of sorts. Let me back up a little bit. This last week, I had the pleasure of working with a completely different crew to interview a man named Wayne White. That interview was based on an upcoming movie, The Thing Expanded, which basically takes The Thing, the classic 1982 John Carpenter film, and dissects it, digs into it, gives all sorts of unusual insights to the cult classic. Obviously, that film takes place on the South Pole. I don't think I'm giving away too much with that. It is a bit of a classic, and there are now at least 3 versions of it available. But where I came in is this man, Wayne L. White. He is an adventurer, an explorer, and also an incredibly kind and humble man. His book is called Cold: 3 Winters at the South Pole. Throw this up here, see if we can focus on that. And I decided to do a little bit of homework before I went into this shoot. So I read the book, and I am definitely a fan of adventure and exploration books. I do like them. They don't even necessarily need to be nonfiction. They could be fictional. It's just fun to see people out in the world doing strange things. But this is entirely 100% factual. And I believe that was a large part of the impetus for why Wayne wanted to write this book. He wanted something that would show exactly what it's like to live on the South Pole. And he, in fact, did spend 3 winters on the South Pole. It's funny. You hear about the shenanigans of people at the South Pole Station. You hear about some of the incredible things that he experienced, both in the station and out in the cold. This picture, I'll be sure to share it elsewhere, was taken at negative 104 degrees Fahrenheit. And those are the kinds of conditions that he would deal with on a regular basis. And it sounds incredible, but you realize that human beings are capable of doing a lot of amazing things, and you'll see a lot of it in this book. I had the pleasure of spending about a day and a half with Wayne, and honestly, that's a large part of the reason why I want to share this book and encourage other people to check it out, because he's just a great guy, and he has a really interesting story. And while this book is about adventure and the South Pole, it's also got a little bit of management theory in there. The way he goes about taking care of his crew on the South Pole is not what you would expect out of a man who some of his roots are in the military. He realizes that in order to get people to do what they need to do and not be miserable while they're doing it in a place that is freakishly cold, you gotta work with people. And it's really interesting to see how this book captures that. After I did the interview for The Thing Expanded, which I'll be sure to share links to that wherever you're seeing that, because that's a really cool project on its own, Wayne and I sat down for just a few minutes afterwards. We had all the cameras set up, so I decided, hey, if you want, can I ask you a few questions about the book? So here it is, check it out. I spent, I don't know, maybe another 20 minutes with Wayne. I took some of the more interesting clips here and put them together. It was kind of rushed, so you might see some quick transitions here and there, but I think it'll give you a really good idea of what Wayne is all about, what his experiences were on the South Pole, and honestly, my ulterior motive here is that this is Wayne's first published book. He has mentioned that there is another one that he's written, and assuming this one continues to be successful, I'm sure the other one will come out sometime, and I really want to read that one as well. So here we go. Wayne White, the author of Cold: 3 Winters at the South Pole.
Wayne White, explorer, author. Cold: 3 Winters at the South Pole. It was such an incredible experience for those almost 3 years at the South Pole, and I thought people would be interested, and I was right on that. Actually, the book, I think it's one of the best books written about for someone who's thinking about joining the United States Antarctic program. And it's not about me, it's really about the crew. It's about taking care of those people. I've had a good run, I've had a great life, and what I can do, to take care of my crew, I did. So the book it's a record that I was here, but it's not a lot about me. It's basically about what we did at that South Pole Station. Our crew photos on that wall forever, for as long as there's a South Pole Station, is a big deal. Knowing we're down there and we'll be there forever. So I captured that, tried to capture that in the book. You know, we're only here for so long, and it matters what we do. And that was one thing that I always talked to my crews about too, as far as how do you want to be remembered? That's something I would tell them at the beginning of the season. How do you want to be remembered? You could be remembered as the crew member that stepped up and did this and helped people, or you could be remembered as a crew member that nobody liked. And so, how do you want to be remembered? And I, for myself, you know, I have that same feeling. How do I want to be remembered? And it's something that the older I get, you know, it is kind of important as I have less time left. One thing that I wanted to do is tell the story of South Pole Cruise and what we did, but I didn't want it to be some kind of a hit piece, because there's several out there that are just that. They're hit pieces where the worst of the U.S. Antarctic program is salaciously, you know, written about, and of course there's problems and there's things with people that have occurred, but I wanted to show a more positive and I think, you know, accurate side to it, and then how I related to it and how my crew members fit into it. But what was most important to me through the whole process is it's that crew having that responsibility, which is massive, and it's getting them through a winter and giving them this great gift of being a South Pole winter over, which I hope they cherished. You know, there's a natural inclination you want to be the hero. And I actually put a few things in that book that are not very attractive. And I did it on purpose because I wanted to level it out. And I didn't want it, you know, hey, look, Wayne just wrote this heroic novel about himself. You know, God damn it, you know, I'm flawed like anybody else. And so I put some of the things in there, like, you know, I talked about Tiny Elvis and what happened and how I treated my wife on the phone when Tiny Elvis was lost. I wasn't very polite. I wasn't very nice. I wasn't very understanding. And I heard some shit about that later. Oh, how could you? Well, you know, I could have left that out of the book, but I didn't. I wanted it in there because I wanted to show I was under stress too. So anyway, I put that in there, and that was one of the reasons, because I wanted to show this negative thing. I wanted to show that while I think I'm a decent leader, I've certainly got my flaws. I think it's a timeless book. Anybody interested in some adventure, there is management in there. I talk about that. I talk about, you know, the different styles and things of leadership that work and what I saw that didn't work. I think it's a real easy to read book. I didn't try to write it on some astral plane. You know, I wanted it to be where people could read it and relate to it, whether you've been to the South Pole or not. I wanted people to relate to it. And I think there's a lot of things in there where most people that have no intention of going to the South Pole or doing anything like that can read it and have some fun with. Thing in life, I did what I wanted to do in life. As a kid watching movies, and that's why we're here today, I goddamn got out and got to, you know, I mean, first movie I remember was Clark Gable in Mogambo, 1953. I have Gable's shirt in my movie room now that he wore in that movie, and I lived that movie in a certain way too. Not a great story, but got to live it. You know, didn't establish these boundaries, what I could do, short of, you know, certain moral boundaries, or I've got to draw the line. And I got out and I did it, and anyone can do that. I'm not the smartest, the fastest, anything like that, but I keep going. And people, if there's one thing that I would want to pass to people, is to goddamn, you keep going, keep moving forward, whatever pace you can do. All right, man, that's good. Yeah.